let's go ahead then and let's just get into this first topic. There's no point doing a topic roulette because we don't have enough topics for that. Let's talk about that Switch 2 operating system update, guys. You guys all updated your Switch 2 this week, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So update 22.0.0, probably one of the most substantial updates. I don't know. Calling it the most substantial, I don't know, because you could argue when they added like NSO, I guess you could say it might have been a bigger deal, but this is more, everyone can kind of be happy about this, at least if you're a handheld gamer. So in 22.0, there's basically three things they did that are neat. The biggest one's game boost, which we're going to spend the most time talking about. But the first one was notes. You can now add notes to your friends on your friends list. Like they're private notes. Your friends don't see them. Only you see them. And yes, you can see them on the app on your phone as well. What's crazy is, at least as of the last time I looked at it earlier today, there's no censorship on these notes. You can write anything you want because nobody can see them but you.
That's rare for
your friends can't see them. I mean, I suppose if you're streaming and you share. But so if you got some pretty fucked up shit said about your friends in your friend list, maybe don't go to your friends list while you're streaming. But yeah, it's complete. So like there's no censorship on it, which is wild for Nintendo to not have it. But then if you think logically, I mean, does there need to be censorship on something that only you can read?
Why do you need notes on your friends anyways?
They change usernames and profile pictures all the time.
I guess.
And sometimes people just want to have fun. They want, when their username pops online to play with them, they want it to say dumbass.
I mean, fair enough.
That's what I'm going to have for you. So.
I mean, fair enough.
Oh, you're here to play Mario Kart World? Dumbass.
Dumbass.
Anyways,
Dumas,
yeah. So that's one thing they added, which is, it's just neat. To me, it's like, who cares? But there are some people that will have fun with it, of course. So whatever. It's nice to have and it's free. So who cares? One cool thing they did do, and this hasn't been talked about enough, is the updates to game chat. They did two really cool things for game chat. One, now when you start a game chat, the people who you started the game chat originally with can invite people to join the game chat. You don't have to reform the game chat. Oh my God, imagine having a call and being able to invite people to the call.
Thank God. Whoa. Yes.
Mind-blowing. Should have been their day one, but they would listen to the feedback. They realized people want this. Well, no shit. Yeah. Maybe it just wasn't done for launch. I don't know. Either way, that's an awesome thing they did. And they did something that now makes it, so game chat has this really cool thing that no other platform has. And that is the ability for every person to stream their game to each other, playing different games. No, guys, the Discord integrations on the other consoles don't let you do it. There is no way to do this on any other system but Nintendo. But people didn't really care about it because the frame rates were so bad, right? So when you're trying to like watch your friend, like they're, oh, I'm stuck, and you're trying to help them, so you blow up their screen, it's like moving at 10 frames a second, which can make it really hard, especially in fast-paced games, to know what the fuck they're doing. Well, while this isn't perfect, they have doubled that frame rate when you blow up your friend's screen. And people have been noticing it, like watching their friends play like action games, testing it out. Even like fast-paced shooters and stuff, they can actually tell what's going on and now actually help people. Now making the fact that you can share your game useful to helping each other out while you're playing. That is an amazing addition. It's basically like share play from PlayStation, except you can't play for your friend. That's one cool thing about PlayStation Share Play. You can actually play the game for them. But also, I'd never play the game for my friend on Share Play. Fuck that. You have to do it. I'll tell you what to do, but you got to actually do it. Anyways, setting that aside, though, Nintendo has that available at their cheapest tier, $20 a year, and you get to do this. That's all it is. You don't have to be on the more expensive tier. So I think these are actually really cool updates. And then obviously the big thing, besides adding additional languages, and they mess with surround sound support and stuff. But the biggest thing was obviously the handheld boost mode. It's right here. To Nintendo Switch software handling in system. So you go down to system on your Switch 2, which is all the way at the bottom under settings, and then it's almost all the way at the bottom under the settings to get to the software handling. You turn it on, and when you turn it on, it tells you a couple of things. Some of it's explained here. It says handheld boost mode will cause compatible Switch software to run as if in TV mode, so certain functionality may be affected. Please see the on-device description for more. So And they did a little update for airplane mode. They now added some quick settings, which should have been there the whole time for airplane mode, but whatever. All right. That's cool. Nobody really cares about the airplane mode stuff outside of the few instances you might use it. So this gets back to the boost mode, because what it does, guys, is any Switch 1 game that doesn't have a Switch 2 free update, like Mario Odyssey has a free update. There's no reason that boost mode to affect that. You just get the free update, right? It doesn't have a Switch 2 edition. And even if it has a Switch 2 edition, it still works if you don't have the Switch 2 edition. It just takes TV mode from Switch 1 and runs it in handheld on Switch 2, which cleans up a lot of image clarity issues, because as you guys know, Switch 1 is 720p only in handheld. So almost every Switch 1 game looks a little blurry in handheld mode on a bigger screen that can support 1080p. Fixes some of that, because a lot of games hit 1080p in dock mode, or at least a higher resolution. Because remember, there's a lot of downscaling on Switch 1. Well, the downscaling was not as bad on TV mode. So you would actually get higher resolution, which actually looks really good on a smaller screen. And you would sometimes get increased performance. Now, some people did note, and I forgot to clarify this in detail in my video, that there is one caveat to increased performance. It's increased performance as in you get the same performance as Switch 1 TV Mode got. If you like playing the game with the increased performance that Switch 2 is naturally giving it, that goes away if you turn this boost mode on. And the chances are the reason it goes away is that overhead used to do that is now being used to run TV mode. Because you got to remember, guys, this is an emulation layer running Switch 1. This is not technically just raw running on the operating system and hardware like Switch 2 games. They have to emulate Switch 1. So that emulation layer means they can either offer you, hey, just naturally boosted frame rates because you have more powerful hardware, or we'll give you TV mode. For some games, it won't make much of a difference because like the boosted frame rates wasn't that big a deal anyways. For other games, it might make a bigger deal to you. But then technically, because you're running in TV mode, you're at least getting the frame rates you would get in TV mode on Switch 1. So it's kind of a give and take. In some games, you might prefer not to turn on boost mode. And there are some games boost mode just naturally is going to be buggy with. One caveat, like when you use boost mode, it treats your Joy-Cons as Pro controllers. So when you want to play in tabletop mode, you actually have to disconnect them to connect a Pro controller to use it in tabletop mode. And again, this is all part of that emulation. All part of that emulation layer, and you're in TV mode. In TV mode, you're not playing with Joy-Cons attached in TV mode, right? So it's all part of how they're solving emulation quirks. And there's anything that used a touchscreen won't work because there's not touchscreen in TV mode. So yeah, there are some games that basically are incompatible with this boost mode and don't work. But a majority of the Switch 1 library does work. And I think even games that have the free updates, if you haven't downloaded the free update, it still might work. But why wouldn't you just get the free update? Because then you get boosted resolution and frame rate, right? Like, why wouldn't you just do that? Like, why would you play the update for Odyssey versus boosting Odyssey? Makes no sense. But if you don't have like Breath of the Wild Switch 2 edition, okay, it makes some sense to play TV mode from Switch 1 on your Switch 2. So, before we say anything else, because we'll get into the DLSS later, have any of you guys tried out boosted mode?
Not yet. I haven't had the opportunity to, although I am looking forward to seeing it with my own eyes and how it performs, how it looks outside of screenshots and some of like the video examples that I've seen online.
Yeah, the screenshots online have been pretty nice for people that pay attention. I think for general consumers, they might not really care that much.
Mm-hmm.
But for more hardcore consumers, some of it's very noticeable. Which of course it is. If you guys remember playing Switch 1, it can be very noticeable the difference between TV mode and handheld mode. Well, yeah, that's the same differences here. And as in Eric, I don't think you've tried boosted mode because I just told you about it.
No, I knew about it. I just didn't know where to turn it on.
Yeah.
And had a chance to really look into it. So
okay. Scott, sort of Alyssa, you get a chance to try it out a little bit?
No.
See, look at that. See, look, this is our headline topic, and nobody's done it but me. Professor Knuckles?
It came out after Pocopia, and I'm just building. Man, like
Came out after Pocopia.
I'm right there with you,
Perfect.
Noctis. I've been in Pocopia world.
I'm gonna go back. My goal is to play finish Xenoblade 3 and Chronicles because I just haven't done either of those yet. But now's the time. So
You know what's funny bringing up Xenoblade? So there's a Switch 2 edition for Xenoblade Chronicles X. It looks better running the TV boost mode than it does
Does it
playing the
really?
Switch 2 edition.
Oh,
Yeah, it visually looks better. Like that lets you know how bad the visual upgrade actually was with the Switch 2 edition. That the TV is better, but you don't get the frame rates. That's the thing. Like you get 60
Okay.
FPS with the Switch 2 edition. You don't get that with the boost mode, but like it looks significantly better than it does with the Switch. Yeah, the Switch 2 edition. That game's a mess.
This is what makes me feel like doubling down on one of the things I was talking about last week about how including the Switch 2 editions as part of the expansion pass Nintendo Online service would just sweeten the deal so much more that when you do have examples like Xenoblade where maybe it's not as pretty or as clean as people were hoping, it softens the blow because it was free if you're an NSO member. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And this is just free for everyone. It's
Yeah.
great. Stash, have you at least looked at it?
Yeah, of course.
Thank
Yeah.
God.
I was-
Checked it out at least.
Yeah, I was on the internet. I was playing my Switch. I'm working on reviews, so I'm literally, Switch doesn't get a break, man. I think I told you guys I had to go buy a new Switch 2 Pro controller.
Yeah, yeah.
My right joystick just went out on me. That
You guys you gotta understand the amount of hours he's putting in these controllers. He is not your normal gamer.
Yeah, so I don't blame Nintendo. It's just like, damn, I guess I put a lot of wear and tear already on this, like apparently. So I watched some videos. Switch Up, YouTube. They have a great channel. They've been covering in depth Switch 1 games on Switch 2 since the Switch 2 launch, and they did a video yesterday and today. And they got the whole slider on their video, just like the NVIDIA
Oh, yeah.
demos.
I love the sliders.
I do too. It really helps to see. And so they tested a handful of games yesterday, and then some more today. Like one of them they tested today, I think just for shits and giggles, because nothing. It seems like no matter how many patches can fix this game, and it's the Batman Arkham trilogy. Just like nothing seems to make it better. However, there were some real positives. Kingdom Come Deliverance. It looks so much better. Like the draw distance looks significantly better. I was really impressed by that one. So were they. Of course, we know about Xenoblade 2. Another Crap's Treasure. That one looked really good. The Outer Worlds had a nice glow up. The Witcher 3. That was one that I was hoping they would test, and that one looked considerably better. And Dragon Quest 11, which, as you know, like if you played it on Switch, it's pretty blurry in handheld mode. I have it on Switch and PS5. I beat it on PS5 and did the whole platinum deal over there. But I definitely played it on Switch 1, and seeing what it looks like now is significant improvement. So this is pretty cool, man. Overall, though, this is just a great update, right? This is a win for everybody. Can actually get the native resolution, right, for Switch 2 in handheld mode instead of playing these games in 720p on a 1080p screen. So
yeah, it's pretty cool. So I played a little bit of some stuff in person. The Witcher 3 was one I really wanted to check out. Definitely. What's really cool about this mode, guys, is you could turn it off and on while you're in the game. So you can literally just go back and forth and just see the difference and feel the difference. Witcher 3, it makes it a significantly better experience in handheld, which is no surprise. I mean, it was a pretty pared back game already on Switch 1, and then handheld was, I don't want to say unplayable, but it was not an enjoyable experience in handheld. It was passable in dot mode. Well, now it's fully enjoyable in handheld. Obviously, it does not replace getting a full Switch 2 edition of the game, which I presume CD Projekt Red would do a better job than Xenoblade Chronicles X got. But yeah, it's one of those. This doesn't replace Switch 2 versions, and I think that is something that people are a little concerned about. That people who want Switch 2 editions, that this might cause less of them to exist. And I think that's a fair worry. I also think for people that are tired of Switch 2 editions, well, that's good for them. Like, there's always a give or take on both sides. I don't think Switch 2 editions are going to go anywhere because they're paid updates for the most part. So, company
Money to be made.
Yeah, but it does mean that if Switch 2 editions do happen, they got to put in more effort. Like, imagine if this boost mode existed before Xenoblade Chronicles X Switch 2 edition came out. The backlash that would have happened. But the Switch 2 edition literally visually looks worse. That would have... It already got backlash. Now imagine it's worse than a free update.
Yeah, it's a big win for gamers because of that reason. And, you know, I saw that too. Like, it seemed like a lot of folks on YouTube and Twitter were asking that question. Actually, most of them were declaring that this means Switch 2 editions are over. And then it was funny. This morning, THQ tweeted out that dedicated Switch 2 editions of Epic Mickey Rebrushed, Destroy All Humans 1, 2, and SpongeBob all coming out.
SpongeBob's already on Switch 2. That SpongeBob was going to Switch 1 now, though. Yeah.
Yeah, all coming out in, I think, June, July, August, October for Epic Mickey. But it's just funny. It's like this. That's not what it means. It doesn't mean it. Third-party developers, you know, they have a plan in place on what they're going to be doing with their Switch 1 games.
Yeah.
And this doesn't change their plan. This doesn't change their forecast. A lot would have to happen in order for that to happen, right? Like, if you don't release your Switch 2 edition and you have that planned in your financials,
yeah,
this isn't going to change it.
The biggest thing it does is it makes them have to try more,
Which is great.
Which is good. That's good for us. To not get any. Now, to be fair, I think third parties have actually done a really good job with their Switch 2 editions overall. Much better job than Nintendo's done consistently. But I do think that it just puts that added pressure of, hey, just so our whole dev team is aware that's working on the Switch 2 edition, we got to go look at Switch 1, like in boost mode on Switch 2 is the basis of we have to be better than this and noticeably better. Because I think, you know, while I haven't seen a third party do it yet, there is the chance that they could phone it in, just be like, well, we'll just make it run as well as it does on Switch 1 dot mode. And it's like, no, that's not going to fly now. So I do think that it actually won't make Switch 2 editions go away. I think Switch 2 editions were always going to slow down eventually anyways, because companies are going to focus their budget on making new games because there's more money to be made off the new games, unless you're one of those like evergreen forever games. You know, like a Minecraft Switch 2 edition makes total sense. It also would make sense because the game isn't $60, $70, and they just release a whole new version. Don't know what they're going to do when they get around to it. Say, you know, Fortnite, we know, is a free-to-play game, so they just literally gave you an entirely new game. If you go to the eShop, it's 2 different downloads. So it's not a Switch 2 edition. It's a full new release, but it's also free-to-play. And if you know anything about Fortnite, your account works on all platforms, so it doesn't really affect anything. But not every game is set up that way. So it is interesting. I'm really excited about it. Look, there's a reason that videos on this yesterday were doing well on every YouTube channel that made one. This is widely considered a universally positive thing Nintendo just did. And in a world of where they've been just taking lots of blows for what people feel are bad business decisions, this is absolutely free, and they didn't have to do it. So it's hard to be mad about it. Now, obviously there's going to be some consumers that don't care. People that only play in dot mode, you don't care. But you're not going to complain that people that play in handheld now have this. Like, it doesn't hurt you, and it's free. You know, and I know some of I wish those the people that work on the operating system aren't working on games. So they're always working. And I know you might want them to work on different features for the operating system, and maybe they are. We've seen patents out there for other concepts. They even had achievements in a patent once. Are we ever going to get that? I don't know. But I do like seeing what's there get improved. Game chat getting improved. Yeah, I think adding notes to friends is a little weird. I think you should be working more so on us being able to message our friends. But whatever. It's quirk. It probably was easy to do, so that's probably why it's there. Someone just came up with the idea, like, oh, how hard is it? And you coded it in a night. And you're like, oh, this works. This is kind of cool. But the game chat improvements were definitely welcome. And then you look at the Switch 2 boost mode, and honestly, I've tested it out now in 3 games, and it's made all 3 games look significantly better. Just turning it off and on, off and on.
Yeah, I literally just was playing Kingdom Battle, and it looks sharp.
Yeah,
it really does.
Yeah. And so it's a big boost, especially because you are playing on a smaller screen, but still a relatively large screen for a handheld at 1080p. But now you're getting that 1080p in a lot of instances from the Switch 1 games that you weren't getting before. So it just looks sharper. And that's nothing but good. Now, obviously, that doesn't mean that everyone's going to think it looks better. I understand. So no matter what, people will be like, well, the OLED screen has better colors. The Switch 1 screens have less latency. Cool. Most consumers don't care. Just pointing that out. Like, there's latency on Switch 1 on the screen, or Switch 2 on the screen. Like, worse than Switch. Like it's one of the worst latency modern day LCD panels. And as someone who plays in handheld a lot, I can tell you I haven't noticed and don't care. Yeah, I definitely noticed the colors not being as, like playing Resident Evil. It's not as black as, OLED. I mean, that's very obvious. But for an LCD panel, that I maybe it's just because I'm older now. Maybe if I was younger, I would notice some of the input latency a bit more. Doesn't bother me. I'm good. So I think the games literally just look better on Switch 2 than they do on Switch 1 and handheld. But that's me. I think it's a really cool mode. It's free. That's the best part, is it's free. They didn't tie it to NSO, which they very easily could have done. I'm glad they didn't do that. It's just available for everyone day one. They know a large chunk of people that buy Switch 2s over the years are going to be Switch 1 owners. Also, it just increases the value of selling Switch 1 games to Switch 2 owners, because you're getting a better experience in handheld than you were on Switch 1. So it kind of increases that value as well and keeps those games evergreen on shelves. So I just think there's nothing negative you can really say about this. Even if you want to shit on the screen, like I've seen some people doing, that's fine. That still doesn't change that this is a good update. That's just bringing up an old talking point as if that matters today. Like, it can matter to you personally, but you were never playing Switch 2 anyways. People that complain about that. So I think when you guys are going to complain about the screen in the future, wait for a new model. We've been there. We've done that. The complaints are out there. We know. Nothing Nintendo can do about that right now until a new model comes out. So until then, them improving stuff like this is great. There's just no way. I've watched, I guess you call them grifters, haters, whatever you want to. I've watched them try to spin this, and the spin is backfiring because there's nothing. It's free. They didn't have to do it, and people love it. What, like, it's universally like. Let's just say, in the month of March so far has been the month of Nintendo wins, man.
Nate, what's the spin? What's even the spin?
Is, example. Well, you can't do it with the Switch 2 game, so who cares? That's one of the spins. And it's like, well, to run Switch 2 games in TV mode and handheld, you can do it. And when people eventually hack the Switch 2 and modify it, they'll upclock it to run like that in handheld mode. But it's Nintendo's number one concern with their handheld mode has always been battery life. Battery. And when you start hitting that battery with 20 watts of demand on the small capacity it already is, and you're doing that in handheld, you're getting less than an hour. And to Nintendo, that probably just is a no-no. When you do the boosted Switch 1 mode on for Switch 1 games, you're still getting your 2+ hours that they advertise. So that 1 hour is just not tenable to Nintendo, and it's also really bad on your battery to hit it with that much demand all the time. These batteries weren't built for that. It's not like a car battery that's built for high voltage. This wasn't built for that. This battery was built to be used the way it's currently used in handheld. Now, you could argue Nintendo could fix all of that and just go with a silicon carbon battery. But I don't need a $700 Switch. It's like, there's only like 3 phone companies that use that, and they don't make it for Switch. So to make it for Switch 2, it'd be custom ordered. So it's just going to make it more expensive. And I think silicon carbon is the future, but we're not going to see that. I mean, maybe my hope is silicon carbon batteries have been widely adopted by the time Switch 3 comes around. And then maybe you could see some crazy 10,000 milliamp hour Switch 3, which would be sick. But that's not reality. Reality is we're still just sticking with some cheap lithium ions, and yeah, it just doesn't make sense to kill the battery and shorten the battery life by hitting it that hard by running Switch 2 games that way. I don't know. That's my thoughts. So what do you guys think? Like, would you like to see Switch 2 games running in handheld as they can in docked mode? Have this apply across all games? Don't everyone talk at once.
I mean, obviously I would love to be in a scenario where it's peak performance across all ways of playing. Obviously battery is already limited on Switch 2, so the power issues are a real one, and obviously there's workarounds with that, with the power banks and and different alternatives like that. But I don't know. I don't see this as a big drawback. I think it would be an excellent plus. Maybe for a Switch 2 Pro. I don't know. That's able to pack a little bit more juice into it. Make sure the battery's still going to hold out strong, boosting Switch 2 games in handheld mode. But I don't know. I think the bigger deal is the Switch 1 games here. Like you said, I think it's going to encourage more people to reach backwards, or even backlog stuff. We all have a growing backlog. That it could be exciting way to go back and revisit that stuff. I don't know. I think it would be a good thing, but I don't think we're missing out right now at this stage.
What do you think, Noctis? You agree?
I think choices are good. So like if they put it in there, then that trade-off of battery life to performance is probably worth doing. It's kind of like jailbreaking your Switch 2, but Nintendo does it for you, right? Gives you the option of playing in handheld at that higher fidelity. There are certainly games that I would probably want to do that for, but for me, most of the games that I'm playing in handheld, I don't see a lot of problems. But if I came across one, then let's boot that up. So options are probably the best there, I would say.
Yeah, they would just have to, if they did do it one day, they would just have to put nice big red lettering just warning you like, hey, you're not going to get good battery life, but more than that, your battery, you're actually going to kill it faster. And hell, we might not even cover it under warranty if you use this mode. But if you want it, it's there.
Yeah, I guess that would be the thing. Is it going to overheat to the point of damaging for a Switch 2 game? Like, is it just going to be too much for it? I don't know.
Yeah. What do you think, Alyssa?
I don't really play in handheld mode too much. I do when I go on like vacation, or if I'm going to spend like all day out somewhere, but I am like, I have the same mindset that like options are really good. And I do like that you can do this for other games, but I would rather have more gameplay time than my battery draining. So I personally don't really mind that the Switch 2 games aren't getting this benefit. I think it's awesome that the Switch 1 games are, because graphics are nice and everything, but the quality and clarity of the video, it matters more to me than like the graphics itself, if that makes sense.
Resolution.
So like if you're, resolution. Yeah. So if you're going from like the 720 to 1080, like that is much better to me than the better graphics or anything like that. So I like that they added it. I also don't think there's anything to complain about. I'm one of those people that you mentioned, like, doesn't really play in handheld mode that often. I'm not complaining on the internet about it. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. And I did see it. I just didn't test it out. I want to clarify that. So I did see all of the coverage of it. I just haven't done it myself.
Sure.
So I like what I've seen.
Cool. Eric, you want them to add this to Switch 2 games?
Honestly, I don't think I've hooked my dock up yet for my Switch 2. So I play.
He's total opposite.
Yeah. So it's one of those that, honestly, I was having fun with the games the way they are. My eyes can't really tell a difference unless I'm going back and forth. So I didn't know, with the Switch 1 games, yeah, sure, it looks better, but I don't think the Switch 2 games look all that bad. So at this point, I don't really care. I think they're performing just fine. it down the road when things start to get a little bit, deeper and bigger gaming, then maybe putting some of this out to kind of help with that might be a thing.
Okay. Let's see here. Well, Stash walked away, so that's fun. I was gonna go to him next on this one.
I'm going to be
Birdman.
honest with you. I've got a quick question. Ever since you mentioned the thing about Xenoblade Chronicles, I upgraded a couple weeks ago for the Switch 2, and I'm now wondering, like, can I de-upgrade so that I can play boost mode?
I
don't think I can. I think I'm locked in now.
I think if you go into the data management, you might be able to delete the update. I
Okay.
think. Don't quote me. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah.
I haven't tried
Just
to
to
delete
play
it.
on handheld, I guess. Like docked
Yeah.
mode would be fine, but I literally was like, I need to buy this update because I've got a big plane ride coming in about a month, and
Sure.
I'd really, oh man, that was not a worry on my table today.
Gamer, do you think they should add it to Switch 2 games? You're muted.
I already answered this. I was the first person you called on.
I know. The chat was gone.
I'll
so-
double down. I think it's a great thing to add. I think we'd all like to see it. Just like the ridiculousness of people already complaining about this update. I think it would be really weird to be like, no, I do not want this added to Switch 2 at all. It would just be odd.
Yeah.
I don't think we need it right now. Again, I think this is something that would be really cool with if we, we're getting longer cycles now for generations. They're not the 5 to 6 years anymore. They're bleeding into that 7 to 8, maybe even 9-year generations. So to me, this sounds like some sort of a Switch Pro thing or a Switch 2 OLED thing. I think it would be great to have. I think based on the current tech we have now, it would do a number on the battery. And again, you have options with power banks, etc. But I think for a Switch 2 Pro, I think this would be a really solid upgrade later on, probably when we maybe even need it more. As generations go on, games get a little bit more advanced. As developers get more comfortable with the hardware, we start to see prettier and more expansive worlds. I know that last year and a half of Switch, people were really feeling the strain of like, okay, we need some more juice under the hood because Switch is starting to show its age. So I don't know. This seems like maybe a second half of the generation update that would be kick ass, but I don't know. That's just where I stand.
Okay. Stash, what do you think? Do you think they should add boost mode to Switch 2 games?
So you want Switch 2 games to run the way they do docked in handheld mode?
That's what we're talking about at the moment, yeah.
Yeah, here's the thing. And we've talked about this before here on the podcast. There are games that run better in handheld mode. And that is one thing that is different from Switch 1. And it's because of that VRR. So what are we really going to get? We can't get 4K out of it or 1440p. That's a benefit of the dock. Obviously, the screen's 1080p. So
a lot of the resolutions on Switch 2 in handheld mode aren't native 1080p. They're upscaled from like 540. So you would get better image clarity and possibly higher frame rates.
For the frame rate, it would be cool. But again, there's some games that have better frame rate in handheld.
Well,
so
VRR, but you can have that VRR now with the higher frame rate ceiling of of the TV mode. Because I agree that like the differences between handheld and dot mode don't seem as extreme as they did on Switch 1. And obviously because of VRR not being supported in dot mode, at times it feels better in handheld.
Yeah.
But I do see some benefits because look, bottom line is there are some games that are just crisper and smoother. Games that have 120 FPS that only have it in dot mode and don't have it in handheld mode. And we know the handheld can do 120. So now increasing that would give you that 120 option. So I do think that it's that in some select cases it would be useful. But it's also one of those that like for how much it would kill your battery and everything in between, is it enough for Nintendo to be like, hey, let's just give people that option? I mean, look, options are never bad. Like if they ever gave the option, it's not like we're going to complain. It's still a universally good thing to add, but it's like it's not needed. Like the Switch One boost mode feels it's still not needed, but more essential.
Yeah. Look, options are good. They're always good. I know you mentioned earlier, maybe they give the option and say like, hey, if you use it, you know, your warranties void it. I can never see them doing that.
Yeah, that's
because if someone,
thing,
if someone just, you know, hits the toggle, activates the slider, suddenly that they don't have their warranty anymore. That would be a PR nightmare.
Mhm.
But I think if it's safe for the Switch 2, as far as, you know, overclocking is concerned, if there is any of that involved, then yeah, you know, you can make it available and let the user decide if the juice is worth the squeeze. I mean, look, man,
Save it for a new model.
Yeah, no, I'm playing on TV, really, for the most part. So I don't play a ton of handheld. When I do, it's you know, like getting ready for bed. There's times, even recently, where, you know, I'll go to bed and we're both playing our Switch, and suddenly it's like 3 a.m. I'm still playing, but I have it plugged in next to my bed. You know what I mean? So like battery is not a concern here either. And, you know, there's already a fix for the battery stuff. Obviously I made a video on it. Genki makes a product for it now, but yeah, you just get a power bank and use a magnetic ring and you're A-okay. Yeah, that's what I have for mine. And it's simple as that. So the battery stuff's not an issue. That's an easy fix. If you really want to play handheld for an extended amount of hours, you know, you could use a power bank and play it for like 10-15 hours straight if that's what you desire. And if you're not next to a power outlet, you know, if you're in the middle of the woods and you're out in nature, but you don't want to enjoy the nature and you just want to play Switch 2 for like 15 hours, I mean, you could. Again, these are the things that worry people. This was people's worry in the lead up. If you guys remember to Switch 2, people were losing sleep over. It's like, why? This happens with all handhelds.
All of them.
No handheld has perfect battery life, and there's an easy fix. If you want to put those worries to rest, buy a power bank. They're not expensive. End of story. Move on with your life.
Yeah, I got a sponsorship coming up with this cuck company. Literally,
What?
CUK. It's CUK. That's how you pronounce it. I did not come up
Are
with the
you
pronunciation.
sure?
Yeah, it's in the official
All
documentation.
over faces.
It's not pronounced differently.
No.
Is it based out
No.
of America?
It's like
No.
kook.
They sell in America though. That said, 20,000 milliamp hour battery bank
Something's not right here.
that's on sale on Amazon right now for like $22.
It's so
And
cheap now.
Does 45-watt charging.
Yeah.
Supports with like that's an amazing deal. I paid like $60 like 6 months ago for 20,000.
Yeah. Yeah. Easy, man. Easy fix. If that's what you want to do.
Mad at me. I didn't brand the brand, guys. Okay. And I gotta try not to laugh when I say the name in the sponsorship video.
I can't wait to see the sponsorship. Do you want me to make a commercial for it?
Dude.
The ideas are already
That'd be
flooding
awesome.
Dude, I kind of do. I mean, I can send you the document with the restrictions so you know what you can't do. But and you tell me what you need from me. Yeah, it's a sponsorship I have. I just got the documentation for today, but I've had the battery bank for like a week. It's my primary battery bank now. Like it's fucking awesome. But yeah, that's the thing. Like it is cheap to get those battery banks. I know it's not a perfect solution, guys. Obviously, like even this, like when you attach the Genki one to the back or any other one that has like the that magnet support, MagSafe support, It does add weight, and it's already a pretty weighty system. So I get that. And obviously there's some people with power banks, they just set them off to the side and run a cable. That's fine too. That's what Yulia's doing upstairs right now for a heating pad, right? Running the cable from a power bank. Well, I don't know, guys. I think Switch 2 boost mode is really cool overall. I think it being available for Switch 2 games, I would never be mad about it, but I also probably wouldn't use it personally. Unless there's like a very specific, like I'm trying to think of a case where I would. Maybe like Star Wars Outlaws. That one does actually run better in dot mode. So like that one, that could be like an exception. And it would probably be like that, like the high-end AAA, like a GTA 6 if it ever came over. Yeah, I'm sure the dot mode's probably better. So I would probably like to run that in handheld if I could. But also, I can imagine GTA 6 in handheld, regardless of boosted or not, is going to kill the battery. But that's a game that I would refuse to even turn on in handheld without being hooked up to a power bank, because I just know that game's going to cook.
Yeah.
And Crimson Desert might be a similar case as well. That we know that one's coming. Starfield today, we got a small update from Nate the Hate. That it's still in active development, but they're having problems. But what's cool about it is he says cross your fingers, because obviously when he's hearing they're having problems, he's also hearing it's still in development. So I hear that, I go, well, whatever problems they're having, they must think they can overcome it, or they would have already canceled. And to be fair, that game had performance issues at launch on every platform. So we'll see if it has performance issues when it launches on PS5. I hope not, since the hardware is so similar to Xbox, but you never know. It's Bethesda.
Yeah.
We know with this engine. We know. I don't know when they're going to ever update it, when they're going to ever get off this engine. Bethesda, I love your games, man, but I think it's time. It's been like 30 years. It's time for us to get a new engine. Something new built. You're under Microsoft's wing. Tell them you need a budget to build a new engine.
Yeah.
It's modern. Like Crimson Desert, they're using their own engine. Nintendo, they built a whole new engine for the Switch generation. These new custom engines are sometimes better than just rehashing old ones over and over. Anyways, that's a different conversation. I'm happy to hear Starfield is still coming. I don't really care that much about Starfield. I didn't like it that much when it came out, but I honestly think, guys, if you want a space game, No Man's Sky is the way to go right now. That game is very fleshed out with tons of content, and it's cheaper, and it also looks fantastic on Switch 2. But okay, so the second part of this topic, or really I guess topic 1.5 1B, is DLSS 5, which is not a thing on Switch 2. Technically, nor is 4.5. There hasn't been any updates as far as we're aware to having a new version of DLSS on Switch 2. At least nothing that's been shared from the developer side yet. Now, to be fair, a lot of these things that get developed for the top end cards first, and to be fair, DLSS 5 isn't even out yet, right? Comes out this fall. They come down, trickle down the line, later. But I wanted to show DLSS 5 and just kind of get your guys' thoughts, because it basically only does one thing. One of those things is piss the people off.
That's true.
So let's just watch and so it does this thing. What do they call it officially? I had it in the notes here. What do they call it officially? They call it a real-time neural rendering model that infuses pixels with photoreal lighting and materials. Apparently how this works is entirely in the hands of game devs. So if you don't like the way it looks in this video, the bit in the video is like, hey, it ain't our fault. This is what the game devs did with it, not us. That's I don't know. I honestly don't know if this was like super easy for the game. Yeah, I'm sure the game devs implemented it, but also did they barely touch it and it just did this on its own? I don't know. We need a game dev to actually talk about how this functions, to understand how much was their decision and how much is just what it does on its own. And then what does it say? Apparently, it's in the hands of game devs. That's according to NVIDIA, and it does not include any improvements to upscaling and the like. So basically, this entire update's about this one feature. 4.5 had the improvements to upscaling. 5 is literally just about this and nothing else. And I find that interesting because you see things like this. Like Requiem's one that obvious to us as Switch 2 owners because we have it. And when I see this happen, this is just my personal take. When I see the update here, this does not look natural to me. This is a very low light setting in rain. And there's like all these skin highlights that just wouldn't exist in natural lighting in this type of light. So I don't know. Like, first off, just overall, do you guys even like what you're seeing here? Let's just start with that. Let's get a baseline on how we're feeling about DLSS 5. This has been a huge thing on the internet the last 24 hours. And we got to talk about it because guess what? There's always that small chance it comes to Switch 2. So let's start with the professor.
Oh
Professor
gosh, me first. Oh
Professor
Lord.
of video games over there. Do you even like what's going on here? Do you like what it's doing to the games?
Oh man. So I like the idea of giving developers new tools that are going to expedite some things. I am concerned about, first of all, everything kind of looking a little bit samey eventually. A lot has been said about the AI filter, right? And it's not really an AI filter, but my concern is that are all of the games going to really evoke that same art style, and it's going to take away integrity from the artists? And so what happens to artistry? Is it really in the hands of the artists, or when we say that the developers are knowledgeable of this, or is it really just the boardroom deciders, right? And that would be my concern. How is the artistry still maintaining its own integrity? But I like the exploration of new technologies. The first iteration is never the last iteration, and that is a comforting thing, I think. Because what is it going to look like in 5 years? But I think that the conversations we're having right now are important for getting us there. I guess that's my take. I'm curious and cautious.
Okay. Alyssa.
So like I kind of mentioned a little bit before how I care more about like resolution over graphic fidelity. So this is kind of like meh to me. I feel like certain images, like especially with Grace, she doesn't really look like her. And I haven't played Resident Evil 9, but apparently that's not really how her character is portrayed. She looks like they're making her look more like a supermodel with that kind of upscaling rather than this like awkward girl.
It reminds me of the AI when like people tell Grok on X, hey, make the girl look beautiful.
Yeah. Like some of the characters like Leon, like his looks nicer. Like he just looks like a little cleaned up, a little more detail. If it's adding a little bit to what the developers already created, I don't really have a problem with that. But once it starts adding more things, and then you brought up a good point with the lighting, that lighting would not have made sense in that kind of area. Like, it was very dark there, and it looked like she had a spotlight on.
Yeah, it looked like studio lights. I'm like,
yeah,
that's not realistic. Like this is photorealistic lighting that doesn't exist in that game, in that spot. Like that's not the lighting of that scene. The scene is dreary and drab because it's raining.
Yeah. But I love cartoons, as you can see. So like the realistic graphics don't really matter to me. But it is a little scary, the AI stuff with the AI with the art is where I'm kind of like I don't like that. The AI to help with like small things like coding or maybe just adding a little bit more detail that they can't quite get with the tools they have, that I don't really have an issue with. But once we start messing with like human creativity, I don't like it.
Yeah, there was one thing I noticed too on like the soccer scene with the one player celebrating. I don't know if I can really capture very well, but when he was celebrating, like there was like one of the stadium lights, right, shining off one of his like spots on his forehead. Sure, that happens, but then as he's moving around, it moves with his head, which is not realistic. I played sports. It does when you're moving around, it doesn't just stay in that one spot on your head and move around with you. The light is stationary. Your face isn't, so it still isn't even realistic. It's like. Yeah. It's literally, to me, it just feels like telling Grok to beautify things. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that those results are always bad. Like if you like what AI does to make people look more beautiful or more photorealistic or whatever, then you're probably really loving what you see here. Like I think it's very obvious that if you love that, this probably looks baller to you. And I think in some cases, like there was the one with the Harry Potter and her face. Obviously, it made her have more wrinkles. No, if you look, those wrinkles are there in the other one. But then why do you
They
see
added
it?
like depth to it.
It added depth, and it's because of the photorealistic lighting. But then again, look around the scene. Where the fuck is that light coming from? That's the problem. It's not photorealistic if that lighting doesn't exist in the game already. Like no one has a light right here, except like content creators. And
We do.
yeah, we do. But I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like this shading on my face, this is not what it looks like when I'm normally walking around. This is a studio light hitting me. That's not what natural lighting in a video game looks like. So it's very, very interesting. And then even like when it can look like that, that's when like you're glaring basically at the sun, dude. They're squinting. Then if you're gonna make that be a bright face because of the sun, then you better show them squinting or wearing sunglasses, because then that's also not realistic. Like to me, I obviously am not a huge fan of this. I'm not saying it can't get better, and obviously as tech goes, it gets better over time, so they could fix some of this stuff over time. But, and I get that maybe if NVIDIA's trying to wash their hands of it, yeah, maybe they're being honest. I don't know. NVIDIA likes to say a lot of bullshit when they're on stage. Maybe they're being honest, and all the things we saw were because the devs chose for it to be that way. I don't know. But, and it's hard to get mad at the devs if they think this looks good and this is what they want their game to look like. Like, okay, I mean, they're the developers. If that's what they think the game should look like or what these characters should look like, cool. But I play like Resident Evil is the one that really gets me, because I played that and I'm putting time into that, and I'm like, dude, this like takes away from the feel of the game. And it makes all these things, all these games they showed, like they showed FIFA, they showed Harry Potter, they showed Resident Evil, and I know all these games they showed go for a more realistic art style, but even within those games there's a little nuance in the style of the game, and this just made them all look the same. I like took away the art style. But that's my take. Eric, what are you thinking? I know you love AI, so
totally love AI. No, I gotta do this for a second here.
oh, he's prepared.
Oh God, I gotta shout out to Gamer Ran X for this beautiful freaking thumbnail.
What do we got here?
That's pretty good.
That's actually really good.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, that's the beautifier,
Yeah,
please.
right. So, I mean, there's parts of it that I like. I mean, but at the same point in time, it just, man, like you said, it just doesn't feel natural. The face shapes and stuff like that, really great. They do kind of look human, real life human-esque, but the lighting, the other kind of way things do, you know how AI fucks up things with humans. You can definitely tell it's AI. So that's the shitty part. They got the bases down, and it will only get better from here, because this is the beginning of it. And once they keep training and training and training, it will get better. As much as I hate AI in this situation, yeah, it's going to get better eventually. So it's here to stay. That's the shitty part.
Yeah. Gamer, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I hate this. I'll be honest. And like I talk a lot about on the show things that I think people blow up or make too big of a deal on or don't really matter. This one I don't like at all. I think it looks terrible personally. I think it looks like all those examples in that footage to me look like uncanny versions of the characters. And and sorry, I was distracted by the goober on the screen.
Oh my God. I was trying not to look. I'm like, what is he showing?
I know. Yeah, it sucks to me, and like what it does, or at least in these examples, is it's trying to take these animated characters and make them look more photorealistic. And I know part of this is going to be just based on personal preference. Like Alyssa here, you guys all know on the podcast that I'm not the biggest graphics person. Like it actually ranks very low on the totem pole for what's important to me in a video game. And I have a much stronger appreciation for interesting art styles. It's one of the reasons why Wind Waker has my favorite Zelda art style of all time. It was super unique and ahead of its time and still looks stunning today. And there's tons of examples of games like that, like Okami, or games like the new Yoshi that's hand-drawn, that are beautiful games that are going to age flawlessly. I really appreciate that sort of thing. And I'm not saying it has to look cel-shaded or cartoony, but there is a look, even with games that maybe have what might be considered a more photorealistic look, like, you know, the newly released Crimson Desert. Like, that's a game that, yeah, it has more realism than Wind Waker per se, but it also still has an art style that doesn't look like I'm looking out my window, you know, at the mountains, or looking at water in real life. I don't want real life. I don't want my video games looking like the real world that I see and experience every day. I want to have fun in these more vibrant, stylized, and creative worlds that are being created by these brilliant minds in the industry. So I personally don't like it. I also don't like the idea of, you know, Noctis kind of mentioned, like, interfering with the artist. I hate the thought of that. And obviously things are moving in that direction in a lot of ways. But when, you know, if you asked me 2 generations ago, let's say, you know, PS3, the Wii generation, ways that I thought AI would have benefited the industry, it was never in how to make games look more realistic or characters look more like living humans. It wasn't about how AI could write our scripts and write our dialogue for us. All the things that I don't like, it was, how can AI enhance NPC personalities and make them more immersed in the world and react to the things that you're doing in the game? And for me, that's a use of AI that I think could really help out devs a lot. You know, we talk about games, you know, we're talking about Bethesda, games where there's characters on schedules and stuff. And these worlds and cities like in Cyberpunk or Fable that's coming up, ways that they can use artificial intelligence to enhance NPC interaction with the world and with you as a character. And, you know, we've been given the promise in the past of a narrative that changes based off of your actions and your decisions. This is a really cool way that I think AI can help developers as a tool. I don't want it looking like an uncanny photo that was generated on ChatGPT. It looks weird. And yeah, there's probably going to be people who think this looks way better, that it looks more realistic. But you got to ask yourself if at the end of the day, like, a full product, you know, being designed with this in mind, and knowing that the way AI works, at least right now, is that it pulls from sources. You know, you mentioned, Noctis, about everything kind of looking the same, not just, you know, going beyond just visuals. Like, what about, you know, using it in development and how games feel, how games play? Like, are we going to be getting a lot of like weird copyright infringement, everything pulling from the same sources? Yeah. So I don't know. It's weird. It's unfortunate. I know AI, like, you know, I don't know if there's going to be a big AI crash or how long it's here to stay or at what capacity, or if it's been overpromised or underpromised. A lot of that's yet to be seen in the grand scheme of things. My hope is that this doesn't hurt the industry, and instead, you know, when things settle down, instead becomes just a tool to make game development stronger, maintaining that creative direction. And I hope we see a lot of beautiful, unique and original ideas, because I'll tell you right now, the things that Miyazaki from Software is creating, those designs, you're not going to see stuff at that level in lore at that level from AI, at least not in the next, you know, 10, 15, at least not the next couple generations, or what's ever left of console generations. So yeah, that's my thoughts. I don't like it.
Gamebird, you brought up something really, really interesting as far as like the NPC behaviors and stuff. And it really strikes me, like, at Alabama, every professor has to have an AI usage policy to make sure that our students are actually doing the work,
Sure.
and all that stuff. But part of what we are being encouraged to do is to help them not only learn the content of the class, but to learn how to intellectually, academically create prompts that are going to produce something unique and something of their own thing. And so it makes me curious. Is it possible? And I don't know enough about NVIDIA or about DLSS in general, but it makes me curious in the hands of developers and particularly artists, how much they can actually program into this to create prompts that are going to pull back something that's more integral to their artistic vision.
Mhm.
And if we start to think of DLSS as maybe a platform to program for, a language to kind of make unique to your game, I wonder what it would look like. Do they
Mhm.
start programming the personalities of NPCs? Do they program how lighting works within that? Is it almost like a replacement for the engine that they might have been using? I just don't know, but I wonder if that is the next step.
Yeah, I mean, I think having like a specific engine design, like an AI designed to work with a specific engine
Mm.
instead of just a generic across the board, definitely would probably be better. And we probably would see less of what we just saw that has that, well, in my opinion, uncanny kind of look to it. But yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, that's an interesting question. It's an interesting point.
Stash, what are you thinking?
Well, first off, I think we all need to like remember that this is a demonstration,
Sure.
and this is a blanket demonstration of the technology and what it is capable of. This isn't a demonstration of how the developers would have used it. Okay. I think everyone's not here on the podcast, just in general, has kind of failed to see that point. Is that Capcom didn't create this for them. This is just a blanket thing to show you what it could do. Going further into that, I know there's been a lot of discussion about having control over the lighting. There's more control there. I've read into this. I've been following it closely because it is very interesting to me, and it's a huge part of not just the gaming industry, but our futures, all of ours.
Sure.
And they do have control over more things like the geometry. They have direct control over it. They have control over the prompts. I mean, it's a tool. You figure out how to use the tool. It's not figuring it out for you. Obviously, it's going to do what you tell it to do. And if you don't like it, you say, okay, I need you to change this now. Keep this, change that. You did good here, but fix this part. That's how it works. AI is the modern day calculator. That's so, obviously in school, in math class, what do we always say? It's going to use a calculator anyways. What do I need to learn this for if I'm just going to use a calculator? Well, much of life now is that. And it's happened in doses. You guys look at when we were growing up, I was growing up in the 80s and 90s, and you went to the library to do your research project. We've talked about this, and you had to hope that your encyclopedia or whatever resources you were going to be using for your paper, whatever you're going to be citing, weren't already checked out by somebody else. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had a big boost. I think it was in like 94, 95 with Encarta. I don't know if you guys remember Encarta, the encyclopedia. I had that. I used it to do my state report in 5th grade on Idaho. I got stuck with Idaho. I didn't pick it. I was out sick for a week, playing video games, of course. Nonetheless, we had that, and then came the internet, Google, right? We had Lycos back in the day. Ask Jeeves.
Ask Jeeves. Oh my God.
Classic, right? But as time went on, more and more technology came out when we got Google, and the answers are all there. Whatever it is in this lifetime that you want to learn, you can learn it. All you have to do is get on your phone now. When we were growing up, you had to be sitting in front of a desktop computer, on a CRT monitor. Now you can be on your laptop, you can be on your phone. Information, quite literally, it is at your fingertips now. And then now you don't even have to know how to search. You can literally just ask AI. So this is the next step. Okay. And again, we're in 2026. I remember talking about this at Loan Depot, and it was during our monthly awards. So there's probably like 700-800 people there. I'm on the microphone and I'm talking about AI to everybody. And I had a few people after that it totally hit with, and they get it and they knew what was coming. And then there was a lot of people that thought Steve's crazy. I'm like, you'll see. You'll see. Come talk to me in 5 years. We'll see where we're at. Okay. Here we are. There's quite a few channels I follow. But you guys know Andre Carpathius? Does a lot of stuff on AI. It's on Twitter, on YouTube. He was the director of AI at Tesla. He was on the founding team for OpenAI, and he's got a PhD at Stanford. That's what I'm looking at right here. Got 1.9 million followers on X. He did a live stream that I was watching, and it was a U.S. job market visualizer live stream, and it was about how many jobs, how many occupations, okay, right now that are going to be impacted by AI. And he used a research tool that visualized 342 occupations from the Bureau of Labor Statistics Occupational Outlook Handbook. Okay, so straight from the source, and covered 143 million jobs across the U.S. economy. And I won't get in all the details of it, but everything I've been talking about. And again, I'm not out there preaching it, because honestly, this goes over a lot of people's heads as well. And, they don't know what they don't know. Just like when the internet came out. What's an email? I'll never use that. It's okay. Trust me, you will. But here we are. And the amount of jobs that are going to be impacted. This isn't the only thing I watch. I get sources from everywhere. But life as we know it is going to change, is my point. And to circle this back to video games, the direction it's going in is the direction it's going in. It's not turning around. No one's going to put up a stop sign and say, wait, there's some people on the internet that don't like this. Are you sure you want to do this? That's not how it's going to work. Professor Noctis, you brought up a good point, which was in my points as well, is that, again, I mentioned earlier, this is a tool. It's up to the developer how to use it. But if this can improve development times, if it can reduce it, which I believe it will, this is a great thing. Okay. Now, do I have to like how Grace looks in this blanket presentation? Because that's what it is. It's a blanket presentation. Okay. No one at Capcom created this. Again, whether I like the way Grace looks or don't, it doesn't matter, because they didn't create it. This is just simply what it's capable of. Okay. Some of the blanket presentations, the lighting looked better. I think the one where it was around all the trees, they did some things there, but you can adjust that. You want to turn it down 50%, you can do that. And you can do it to your liking. instead of spending hours, days, weeks fine tuning it, you can have AI do it for you. That is something that will decrease development time. So that's a W. So look, this isn't a hill that I will go die on, and I would recommend that nobody goes and dies on any hills about this, because this is where we're going. This is where we're at. It's not going to change. Michaela, she works in mortgage. I worked in mortgage, and they're required to use AI. My cousin Jim works in mortgage at another company. He's required to use AI. My brother John, he works in mortgage. He was required to use AI. Okay. When I was at Loan Depot I was working here in Arizona, but with our team here in AZ, California, and India. And a lot of the training materials and the guides that we were creating for the team in India to train them was then going to be used for AI. We knew that. Now, did I like that? Of course not. I don't like that. I don't like being a part of it. But if I don't do the job, somebody else is going to do it and collect my paycheck. That's the fact of the matter. This is how it is. And so I did it, obviously. And there's a lot of people that are faced with that every day. I think I read something recently. I forget which development studio it was, or if it was Microsoft. But all these people were basically working to have their job replaced. They were writing all the stuff for AI, and they were all laid off. So they trained their successor. There's a lot of companies that are doing that right now. But if you look at the big picture, though, from going to the library to getting Encarta to getting the internet, starting with Ask Jeeves, Lycos, all that stuff, to Google, where we are today, and now to AI. If you do any Google search, you get a Google AI rundown now. And I check it, right? Because I want to see too if it's right. Like, I'll go through it. Sometimes it's not perfect. Most of the time it's right. But it's only going to get better. This DLSS 5 is only going to get better when it gets in the hands of developers and they're actually creating games from the ground up using this tool. That's going to be a positive, because they're using it from the ground up and you're creating it exactly how you want it to look. It's going to be a new skill set, right? The developers are going to have to learn on how to talk to AI. It's no different than training an employee. It really isn't, if you look at it that way. And you're going to just have to learn how to do that. And then it's going to take so much time off of development. And it's going to start getting these numbers back in line. But again, this was 250-90s? Who's running 250-90s? What console is going to be running something like that? You know what I'm saying? How long is it going to take to get there? This is a glimpse into the future, because this is not a reality for most people. That's where I'm at with this.
Okay.
It's very interesting.
All right. Well, cool. I think that kind of runs the gambit on like this conversation, because like the DLSS 5, the bottom line is we haven't seen game developers do anything with it yet. So it's kind of just if Nvidia is the one that implemented this all on the games, which they very well could have, they could have just did a really poor job. They don't have access to the source code. So it literally, like, it's funny because on their video they say, important to note with this technology, game developers have full detailed artistic control over DLSS 5's effects to ensure they maintain their game's unique aesthetic. The SDK includes things like intensity, color grading, masking off places where the effect shouldn't be applied. It's not a filter, although obviously it looks like one in the way they presented it, probably because if NVIDIA did this, they're not the developers, it probably kind of was a filter in how they did it. Because again, they don't have access to the source code. They can't fundamentally change the game, so they're just applying it on top of what's already there, which that's a filter. And I think they put this up because they knew people would react that way, but then it's like, well, my thing is this doesn't come out till fall. Okay. If I was NVIDIA and this doesn't come out till fall, why wouldn't you work one-on-one with a developer to use it first and then present it with what they do with it? I think that would have been much, hopefully, still could end up with the same result in the end. I don't know. But I think that would have ended up going over much better. Because the way they presented it is not great. And then all the people that were there in person to see the demos, they saw the same thing. And it wasn't great. So it's like, I would have preferred that they would have just waited to announce this until they had worked with someone to actually put it in a game and then see it in action. But I know NVIDIA doesn't always work that way. Jensen likes to announce things way too early. Is what it is. And it says it inputs the game's color and motion vectors for each frame into the model, anchoring the output in the source 3D content. So again, it's just one of those things where until I see it in action, I don't like what they showed so far. I think what they've done with it for most of the instances does not actually look very good. I know other people disagree, and that is totally fine. Everyone has their own preferences. But I want to see how an actual game developer uses it. Obviously, for me, guys, with DLSS, my biggest thing is the upscaling, the improved frame rates, the improvements to ray tracing. Those are the things I actually like about DLSS. But DLSS does other things like frame generation. And now this frame generation, as far as we're aware, isn't supported on Switch 2, although there was one developer. We haven't had an update since, but one developer saying they were trying to use frame generation on Switch 2. I don't know if it's because it can do it or they were hoping it could do it. I have no idea. It was like an indie dev saying it. So we haven't had an update on that since. And then for this, I don't like, in terms of this tech, I don't know if this tech's ever coming to Switch 2. Okay. I don't know how it works. I don't know how intensive it is. I don't know if it's something they could downport to lower end hardware, because the bottom line is we haven't seen this run on anything yet. So like if this comes out and it runs on like a 2060, well, at that point, yeah, maybe it could come to Switch 2. But we haven't seen what it's all going to be on. And if it's only 5,000 series exclusive feature, then it's like, well, okay, then this isn't even going to be relevant for Switch. It would be relevant for overall gaming, especially on PC, because we already figure the next hardware from PlayStation and Xbox is going to be AMD again, so they won't have this tech. But it will be interesting to see if it ends up being able to run on low end hardware. I know there's been some faint hopes, which again we don't have confirmed yet, that some of the improvements to 4.5, which 4.5 was definitely a upscaling improvement. I know there's a lot of hope that some of that trickles down the stack and gets to Switch 2, and we'll see. Julia was shocked today, so she was trying to help me come up with podcast topics, which is really weird because she doesn't follow video game news at all. And all she was quoting me was a bunch of stories I would put in my video today. I'm like, oh, thanks for helping me out finish out my video today. I had stories I need to cover. And then she's like, did you know that there was an analyst yesterday that projected that Switch 2 would hit 80 million sales and become market leader in 2028? I'm like, yeah, doesn't surprise me. Okay. Like, sounds about right. Sounds about what it's pacing for at the moment anyways. I don't know if it's going to keep pacing like this, but sure. Yeah, that makes sense. She's like, dude, that's crazy. I'm like, yeah. Did you know Switch 1 sold 155 million? She's like, wait, what? Because she doesn't pay attention to any of this. And she's like, they're using that NVIDIA crap you talk about, right? No one else is using it. I'm like, no, not no one else. PC gamers are using it, but no other console is using it. She's like, well, dude, what are these developers doing? They got to get on this shit. So it's like maybe the popularity of Switch 2 will lead to the NVIDIA being like, maybe we should try to get some of this stuff running on the platform that more people will be using it. When I say more people, I know PC gaming's bigger, but it will be interesting. PC gaming, you have options. Not everyone's using NVIDIA, especially. Have you seen the price of like a 5060? Jesus Christ. Like it's priced out of consumers, normal consumers. Like it just is what it is.
Yeah, that's why this is a future thing.
I hope,
People
and I
aren't
hope it
buying
comes down the stack.
5090s.
Yeah, I hope it comes down the stack to people who already own current GPUs because like this is. I don't know when the prices are going to get better thanks to AI. That's the funny thing is it's an AI thing that they need AI hardware or they need
I know.
hardware to use. And then also we can't afford the hardware to use the fucking tool.
You know what? At one point I wanted to make that I forgot. I wrote this down. It's with the Resident Evil presentation.
Mm.
I wrote that if Resident Evil Requiem came out right now and what we saw in the NVIDIA presentation was all we knew. Like it was a Resident Evil Requiem trailer from Capcom. Is our first time seeing it. Everybody would think it looks great. Everybody. I would put my house on that. Everybody would say it looks amazing. But because we already know what it looks like and they're doing a comparison, everyone is upset and up in arms about it. But if all we knew was what we just saw, everyone would think it looks great. And to me, that's what's funny about all of this.